Burgundy and Gold, everything powered by the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia. All right, man. The Commanders are balling. It's the Washington Commanders post-game show. The Washington Commanders defeated the Houston Texans 23-10. I'm Ole, and I'm here with, and I have my homie George Templeton with me. What's going on, George?
Wasn't it nice to have a stress-free fourth quarter? It's been so long. I was able to go get something to eat. I was just relaxing. I was listening to the game on the phone as I'm driving to get some food and finish laundry. I was just like, this is so unusual. This game was over. I thought it was over at 10-0. It was actually over at 17-0. There was no way in the world they were losing that game from 17-0. And how rare is it for that to be the case?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you just said, like just to have it to this point where I felt like it was over as soon as like they scored 10. I believe I'm with you. Like when they scored 10, I thought it was over because I thought this defense, to me, the way they were playing were lights out. And we'll get into all that, but I was proud of the defense. And we'll talk about their performance. But let's get to the particulars. Hey, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Just search All Burgundy and Gold Errrything. Also tweet us at ABG_Errrything and hit us up on IG at ABG_Errrything and like our All Burgundy and Gold Errrything Facebook page. Hey, make sure you subscribe to our All Burgundy and Gold Errrything YouTube channel as well. All right. I'm watching this Patriots game too.
So am I. I can't believe it.
It's crazy.
Oh
it's crazy.
God, they go winning the last 10 seconds with a punt return. Unbelievable.
That's crazy. That's insane. That is insane. All right. So, George, get into this Washington Commanders game. I mentioned the game. The Washington Commanders won the game 23-10. Let's get right into it. What were your thoughts on the game, my man?
You're going to hear a lot of people say this today and tomorrow. It's only the Texans. Yeah. Number one, Texans have been competitive in almost every game they've played this year.
Agreed.
They've given good teams tough games. You know, Thursday night Philadelphia, They covered that spread and they gave Philadelphia problems, and they have shown everybody the way to beat Philadelphia. You could argue. You know, so the people are going to dismiss this. Don't listen to them, because if you're going to be a playoff team, which this team aspires to be, and which now is in range, it really is in range now, because I wasn't believing that until today, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a playoff team, then you go on the road against a bad team like Houston, or the bad record, I should say, and you win soundly, and you are cruising in the fourth quarter so that you can have everything ready for next week, which is a huge game, and that's what they've done. So except for the injuries, because there were a couple injuries right near the end of the game.
St. Jude's.
Smith Williams got a little hurt. Except for that, this really could not have gone any better. We'll pick. I'm sure we have plenty of nits to pick, and I've got a few as well.
Yeah.
But this was terrific, because we all said it all week. You said it. Everybody else on you said it. What would be the on-brand thing for the Commanders to do? Lose this game.
Yes.
Coming off the Monday night, coming off the big emotional win. Everybody saw that scene in the locker room. They were celebrating like they won the division, and I don't blame them. I'm not criticizing that at all.
Yeah, me either. Don't do that. I'm not going to do it either. Yeah, I'm with you.
That was absolutely massive, and it was just such a great effort. And it's again arguably the best win of the Ron Rivera era. I would still put Tampa ahead of that, but that's arguable. And to come off of that and not only go down there and win convincingly. That's what a playoff team does, and they did that today.
My man Steve says, "Let's go." The defense has been completely great. Yeah, I'm with you, Steve. This defense has been lit. Yeah, but just to me, my thoughts of the game was defense, man. This is like old school football. I know a lot of people don't like to hear it. They want to see that the type of football you air it out, throw for like 400 yards, five touchdowns. Glenn said the offense still struggling, of course. But you got to manage the football game. When you have a defense, the way this defense is playing, the way they're playing, they had 5 sacks today. Montez Sweat with 2 sacks. I believe Payne had a sack. Allen had a sack. These dudes have been like playing lights out in terms of that front four. And when you have a defense playing that well, you got to kind of lean on it. You know what I'm saying? Like we've talked about the identity of this football team. What is the identity of this football team? Like, because you have so many offensive weapons, you do have offensive weapons. You have, you have Brian Robinson, you got Gibson in terms of your running backs. You got Logan Thomas, your tight end. You got Jahan Dotson. You got Terry McLaurin. You got Curtis Samuel. All those dudes make plays, but your identity for this team, the way this offense is constructed, the way this whole team is constructed, and the way they've been playing in terms of what the model of how all these units are playing, is you got to lean on the defense. Your identity is your defense. You know what I mean? It's this tough, grinded out mentality, and that's what you have. So all the questions about the identity, this is what it is. Like, this is it. You lean on that. You know what I mean? This is when we envision as fans when they drafted all these D linemen in the first round. Like, you got to take over football games. It wasn't this offense did anything. Like, they didn't, like, the defense had a pick six. You know what I'm saying? Kendall Fuller had a pick six. And props, shout out to Kendall Fuller. I was getting on him early in the season, but I did say this too at the same time, that I know a lot of people are infatuated with St. Juice, and St. Juice has been good. But to me, Kendall Fuller has been the best DB on this team for the last 3 weeks. I mean, my man Ray says, I can't read what Ray said. You can't. Hey, George, what did Ray say?
He said, Atlanta versus Washington with a playoff spot in play. Life is good for me. And Atlanta still on the heels of those Buccaneers. They can still win that division.
Yeah, man, it's good for Ray, man. He's going to get to be at the game. You know what I'm saying? So good for Ray, man. But yeah, shout out to the defense. I just feel like the defense could contain anybody. I usually had an issue where, I thought mobile quarterbacks would give this defense fits. But now they just proved that. They kind of took that away from me. I think that now that this defense can even play against mobile quarterbacks. We saw it with Jalen Hurts. So I just think that this defense all around is playing good football. Jamin Davis is playing good football. Like, he has that dot now. Like, now he's got all the confidence in the world. And it's almost becoming a complete defense. And shout out to, like, Ron Rivera to, like, put in Derek Forrest and make him the starting safety. You want to talk about that, George? He had a big pick. Like, this kid just makes plays.
Yeah, he is he's a ball magnet. And he's not – there's nothing – I can't say that he's flashy. He's just where if there's a play to be made, he's going to be there to make it. And here's the other thing, 5 yards at halftime.
5 yards. That's what I'm saying. 5 yards.
We were, it was funny. I saw a tweet saying Washington hadn't shut anybody out since 1991. You probably got to go back to that year when they were doing that to teams on defense because they had such a good defense that year. I mean, they just that defensive line totally dominated, erased that offensive line, just manhandled them. Like one of the Daron Payne sacks, you literally could see within a second of the snap, he's gonna crush this quarterback.
Yes, he's gonna crush him. He's going to crush him.
He absolutely inhaled poor old Davis Mills. Davis Mills is going to be spending a lot of time in the cold tub and on the training table this week because he took a beating out there.
Oh, they punished him. They punished him. They definitely you could tell like Davis Mills was like he was shook.
Yes,
he was shook. Like they got him. Just the dominant. I was just highly impressed. This is probably the most impressed I have been with this defense in a while. Because, like you said, George, a lot of people are going to come out and they're going to say, "Oh, it's just the Texans." But if you look at the Texans' body of work, they've been competing against a lot of teams. Like they tied with the Colts, who almost beat the Eagles. They had a competitive game against the Eagles. The Giants, they were competitive against the Giants. So this same team, they were able to move the football against some of these good, decent teams, decent defenses, and what that defense did to that Houston Texans offense. And to be honest with you, this Texans offense got healthier with Nico Collins coming back. So they haven't had Nico Collins for most of this season, and for like the last 3 weeks they haven't had Nico Collins. He came back last week, but. So this defense has really shut down an offense that has was able to move the football up and down the field, and they weren't able to do that at all until you could say Washington took their foot off the gas pedal. That's when they were able to move the football. So
Dameon Pierce, I have him in a bunch of leagues. He's been one of the huge fantasy breakout stars. This is Dameon Pierce's line today. 10 carries, 8 yards. For a guy that I think, didn't he have like 140 or 50 against the Eagles in that Thursday night?
Yeah, he had a crazy game against the Eagles.
They totally took him out of the game and stuffed him, and he's a really good running back. With that little touchdown run at the end, Davis Mills ends up their best rusher, 6 carries for 10. Yeah. I mean, They got nothing out of the running game today. And look, we always say it, but it is true. In the NFC East, you run the ball and you stop the run, and that hasn't changed. That was true when I was 5 years old. It was true when I was 25 years old. And when I turn 45 next year, it's still going to be true. Washington ran the ball on the ground with Gibson and Robinson and Samuel. Can't forget him running the football. And they completely erased the Texans' running game, and the Texans had no chance.
Yeah, I think that's the first thing you take away the run. They did that. I think Heineke let's go there. In terms of Taylor Heineke, George, what were your thoughts on his play?
Again, this is another week where when I hear people say, "Oh, you can't play Sam Howell because it's running up the white flag," Sam Howell can't do anything different than what Taylor Heineke did out there. Taylor Heineke's line is okay. It's 15 to 27 for 191. Yeah. I'd call that functional. That's what I would call that. I wouldn't call it great. I wouldn't call it outstanding. I'd call that functional. Not a big game from McLaurin. Decent game from Logan Thomas.
He was.
If you're looking for big positives, that's one of the biggest positives. That's the best game Logan Thomas has had for a while, and he looks actually healthy. But again, Taylor Heineke, not much. And granted, we didn't need it. I mean, you think about that first big pass in the game that should have been intercepted. Yeah. I thought I actually got it on late. I thought Houston had the ball because he threw that right to Petre, and Petre dropped it. I'm going, oh Lord, are we going to have this kind of a day? Yeah. But yeah, not much from Taylor Heineke. And again, you need more from him. Yeah. I know some of the teams in front of us lost today, and they look a lot more beatable than 2 or 3 weeks ago. You're going to need more from him against the Giants. You're going to need more from him against the Cowboys if it comes down to that. You're going to need more next week against Atlanta.
Yeah. I think the Taylor Heineke, as long as they stick to the game. Let me talk about his game. I thought he had moments. I'm like you. I think that he was serviceable. He played his role. I think that last drive before the end of the first half was where he was in a rhythm. Like I felt like it was his best rhythm. Like he was throwing passes on the money. He was hitting on stride. He was anticipating passes. So I felt like he throws a mean slant pass. I'm gonna lie to you. He throws a mean slant pass. That's that's one of his better passes. But after that, he kind of lost his rhythm. But also, I was happy that he managed the football game. Like he wasn't trying to make those Heineke mistakes, right? It just you see your defense rolling. You're not trying to. There's no need to try to make a wild play. And he didn't. I mean, did he miss open receivers? Yes, today he missed open receivers. But at the end of the day, like you gotta gauge the temperature of your football team, and you see that like the Houston Texans weren't able to move the football against that defense, and there's no reason to put your defense in harm's way by turning the football over and putting the Texans in an advantageous situation. So to me, I thought Taylor Heineke was fair. To me, I give him a grade. I give him a B. Just because I grade him on curves. I give him a B. Because he's not gonna wow you in terms of like a quarterback play in terms of throwing the football, being accurate or whatnot. But in terms of managing this football game, I thought he was fine.
So and I would just add, if we're gonna turn to the nits, we're gonna pick some. The good from Scott Turner was the way they used Curtis Samuel in the run game.
Yeah.
The bad was kind of everything else in the sense that, man, there were some questionable play calls in the red zone. I mean, they won easily, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference.
But
they could have been way more.
Yeah,
if they had been more efficient in the red zone.
I mean, you got 3rd and 1. You have 3rd and 1, and you're throwing the football for the play action. Again, I'm telling you, this is my issue with Scott Turner. It's like you got to know your personnel, know who your team is. This is the issue. Like, and I know it's every week I do this, but did he call a great game? It was okay. Like you said, like I think the defense made it much easier when you got a dude in Kendall Fuller that gives you a pick 6 off the bat. Like you're already up. Like you got the momentum, so it made calling plays a lot easier. But was it ideal? No, I thought there were situations where they could have killed this team early, like that 3rd and 1. Like run the football. You have Brian Robinson just showed you that he can tough out. He was dragging people. Like for most of that, he was dragging people. Give him the football. Like this is the last, and this is the thing. It's 3rd and 1 against the worst rush. I mean, the worst defense against the run. Yeah. Why would you do that? You know what I mean? Like, why would you?
That's the offensive coordinator trying to show how smart he is instead of just trying to win the game, that's our eternal frustration with Scott Turner. And again, you worry about this when we get to the tougher games, which again,
that's the problem.
Atlanta, the 2 Giants games, San Francisco, Dallas. This is a tough road to hoe here coming up. And we're up against teams that are going to have better offenses than this, that can score points, and you can't have this. And that was the big negative. The other big negative is because without this, the defensive numbers would have been truly eye-popping. How in the world did John Bostic end up on doggone Brandon Cooks?
Oh, that needs to stop. They need to stop doing that. They need to stop.
I mean, I'm not mad at Bostic because
I'm not mad at him. That's not his fault.
Be covering Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
Golly. I mean, has Brandon Cooks. They have 148 total yards. Brandon Cooks had 70, so he had almost half their total yards today. So we're talking about one of the greatest defensive performances in franchise history if they could have just kept the ball out of Brandon Cooks' hands.
Which is easier said than done, right? But you're right. You don't want to have a situation where Brandon Cooks is on Bostic. I don't even care that's Bostic in his prime. Like, that's not even something you want. Like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, huh? How does that happen? How do you have Brandon Cooks on Bostic on Brandon Cooks? It made no sense.
That's a bad habit Jack Del Rio's got.
Yeah, and I'm all for giving that man his flowers because I know a lot of people, political speak, whatever. You can have all your beliefs and your political beliefs, but when we're talking about football games, we talk about watching what we see on the field. He's been better. He's been good. He's been good, man.
No one had him as the one coach we wouldn't be angry at halfway through the season when this thing was kind of we were all. I mean, and let's not forget, this team started the year letting Jacksonville go up and down the field on them for 4 quarters, and giving up 36 in Detroit, and they looked like the worst defense ever. And we were like, oh God, if Chase Young doesn't come back, we're screwed. Now we're sitting here saying, well, Chase, take your time. We don't have to have you come back because now all of a sudden this defensive line is dominant. Again, sterner tests are upcoming, but I would have never, if you'd have sat here in September after that Detroit game and told us that this team's defense would be this good, we'd all laugh. We would all laugh.
We'd laugh. Like, because the turnaround is amazing. Like, just the players, like I said earlier, I was clowning Fuller, like clowning Fuller on a regular. Saying he was like everybody. I was like everybody keeps talking about William Jackson III, but Kendall Fuller's out here getting burnt for a touchdown every week. But when you see the situation now, look how it's flipped. William Jackson III has been gone. Fuller has been comfortable, but he's been doing. It's wild. He's been the last couple of years. His second half of the season has been improved like the last 2 years. So, but he's been balling. A pick six. Like, how often do we see that in Washington for a cornerback to get a pick six? I'm trying to think of the last time we saw a cornerback get, like a cornerback get a pick six for Washington. Trying to think about this. Like, really, I'm like, I don't know. Like, that barely happens.
I remember D'Angelo Hall with a fumble return, but I don't know if it was a pick six.
I feel like it's been a while to see a pick six. And somebody, whoever listened, pull it up, call me out on it, but I don't know. Like, I don't know the last time like a cornerback got a pick six for Washington. But you were talking about the negatives. Ridgeway. I mean, I think Ridgeway. Again, I'm not one of the people to say Ridgeway should be cut because I think he's been playing well. I'm on a text chain and my brother on he's like Ridgeway should be cut. I'm like, nah, he shouldn't. He's actually good.
I won't lie. I was ready to cut him after the Minnesota.
I know exactly. A lot of people were, but he's actually been good. Like, we look at like things that stick out. But doesn't mean just because you are good doesn't mean you ain't dumb. Like, you're playing dumb. Like, you do a lot of dumb stuff. Like, he literally tried to power bomb a player in the NFL. Like, and didn't think that was going to get anything. Like he literally. First of all, I saw him do it, and it was in slow motion to me. I was like, is he really trying to do what I think he's trying to do? And then he got, and that's like, oh, he is,
baby.
Yeah, I was like, you must have just. Did he just watch? He must have watched Full Gear. Did the man just watch Full Gear or something? He's inspired by Kenny Omega, but it's amazing. Like, so, but yeah, he to me, like, he's not disciplined right now enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you gotta be better, especially after the Minnesota game, bro. Like, that game, that kick. I'm not saying it cost him the game because you never know what's gonna happen after that. but it made it hard for this team to come back from after, come back, obviously. Took them out of contention to win the game. Took them out of contention to win the game. So now to me, like you learn from that, you can't make a mistake like that. Like that could have hindered your defense. Because you never know what that would have done for the Colts. That could have been for the Texans. That could have been a play to give them momentum.
And also let's say this though. In the past, that would have ended up in a touchdown and maybe the game turns. It still kept them out of the end zone after that penalty, which is again, that's the other thing. Even when they were doing bad, their goal line defense was pretty good. But my goodness, they have in goal to go. I'd love to see what their numbers are in goal to go. They got to be one of the best teams in the league for touchdown percentage.
I think so.
In goal to go, because it feels like lately just about every time. And of course, they gave up one right at the end, but it didn't matter. It feels like just about every time when we absolutely need a stop and goal to go, we get it. It's just tremendous because I mean that's the hardest. That's the most easy situation in one sense because it feels so congested, but it's the hardest because you only got to get anywhere from 1 to 10 yards to get in the end zone, and yet Washington has come up with the goods time and again in that situation.
Yeah, my man, James Uptown Hampton says, anytime you hold another professional team to 6 yards in the first half, your defense is something special. That's what I'm saying. Like, so we're going to get to my next question. So I asked this I put a poll out there on Twitter that is this Commanders defense a Super Bowl quality defense? And to me, when a performance like this, I'm saying the defense, not the offense. With a showing like this, it was 5 yards actually, 5 yards in the first half. Total 5 yards total. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like they had the ball. They did the whole time of possession thing like they did against the Eagles. This was totally different. Like they were literally shutting the Houston Texans down. Like 5 yards in one half. That's freaking amazing to me. To me, that just shows me, like, it tells me I think this is if this defense was on the Buccaneers, even as good, but like right now the way they're playing the Buccaneers, if it was on the Minnesota Vikings, if they had this type of defense, if it was the LA Chargers, we use that, the LA Chargers, like we wouldn't be talking about, like this defense would be talked about in a different light, especially the way they're playing now. I know we talked about in the beginning of the season, but we're talking about this stretch of games right now when they made all the adjustments. I don't know there are not a lot of defenses that are playing better than this defense. You know, beginning of the season, Buffalo was lights out. Now they're kind of giving up points. Like there are not a lot of defense out there that's playing as well as this Commanders defense. So the poll results were 75% yes, 25% no. But yeah, George, I want to get your thoughts.
I mean, we're almost there. And I guess the way you couch it, if you're talking about can this defense get us to a Super Bowl, I think the answer actually is yes. That's the nature of the NFC that we're in.
Yeah.
In terms of because if you're talking about a Super Bowl winning defense, that means you got to contain a Pat Mahomes, a Josh Allen, even a Tua.
That's different. I said contender. I said caliber. A caliber.
And you know what? When you put it like that, yes, it is. Because look, we know this in the NFL. You're going to win on the road in the playoffs. You got to be able to play defense.
Yes.
It is hard to go on the road and score 30, 35, 40, because it's just much harder to play offense on the road for all the reasons we know why, crowd noise and all that other stuff. And this defense can travel. That's clear. This defense can take their act on the road. Look, they just stopped Philadelphia. And yes, it was helped by the time of possession, but they went to Philadelphia and they were able to contain them for large portions of that game.
Yep.
And now here you go against a team that's offense has been doing okay most of the season. They completely erased them for a half. And gave them, I mean, outside of Brandon Cooks, they didn't even give them 100 total yards of offense. So, this is a Super Bowl contending defense. The issue is, you know, they had been getting turnovers. They got one today.
Yeah.
You got to get those. They only got the one, but they did get one today. The other issue is, you know, it's the complementary football. It's special teams. It's offense. Yeah. Special teams actually was pretty good today.
Oh, my God. I believe in Joey Sly, man. I believe in Joey Sly. That's my saying.
Yeah, Joey Sly making the kicks. And Tress Way drops another one inside the 10 again. Yep. So it's like, you know, it's a complementary football that everybody talks about. It's so cliche, but it's true. It's just we need a little bit more from this offense and this quarterback position.
We do. But at the same time, I just feel like you know what you got. You know what I mean? Like Taylor
Yeah.
Heineke was named the starting quarterback for the rest of the season. You know what you got. Like so you got to coach. You got to coach within that realm, right? So
Mm.
you got to lean on this defense because I believe again, like I believe this defense is a Super Bowl caliber defense because just everything you said. You know what I mean? Like you're able to bring pressure, which is your front four. Like you don't have to bring a blitz. So now you have more guys in coverage, and then the guys in coverage are on their keys and they're also quality. Like St. Juice is quality. If he goes down, it's gonna hurt. Like to me, that's gonna hurt if he's down for some time. I don't think he is, but if he goes down for some time, that's gonna hurt, especially going into the Atlanta game. Defoe, like Derek Forrest and Cam Curl, like I can't come out and say like I don't watch all of the safeties. I'm not paying big time attention to all the safeties in the NFL, like the combination safeties. But I can just say in terms of it's biased, but I feel like these two young dudes have been one of the best safety tandems in the NFL right now. You know what I mean? Just it's hard to think of a tandem that's playing as well as these two dudes.
Well, I would never set my stall by Pro Football Focus. However,
Yes.
having said that, what was it? Because there's a bunch of content creators that will bring them up on YouTube. And I think coming into this week, they were two of the top 5 safeties in the entire NFL.
That's what I'm saying.
And I'm starting to believe it. I am starting to believe that. That's how good they are.
They have.
Cam Curl, we all knew about.
Yes.
Derek Forrest, though, again, you talk. You got to have some dogs on defense. It's something you always say. Well, like, and he's one of them. And you absolutely have to. And he's one of them.
He's making plays. Makes plays consistently. So to me, when you got all that situated, and we haven't even talked. We haven't even talked about even the linebacker play. You're gonna have Holcomb back, like eventually. So when you get Holcomb back, I think that's important. You talk about Bostic, like hopefully Bostic. We don't talk about Bostic that much because we'll have Holcomb back. And no knock on Bostic. Like I think he's been serviceable. He's tried. He's played his hardest. He's been in position. It's just that he doesn't have the physical skill sets at this point in time in his life to play with some of these, faster backs out out of the backfield, and also some of these receivers that you may have to, carry when he's in zone. But when you get Holcomb back and then an improved Jamin Davis with more confidence, I just feel like the sky's the limit for this defense as they get healthier. You're probably getting Chase Young back in the Atlanta game. So this defense, to me, they have so many weapons, so many options, and you don't have to play Chase the way, again, how deep their defensive line unit is anyway. And I talked about Ridgeway, what he's done for Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen in terms of giving them more freedom to now rush the passer and not worry about double teams as much. I mean, it's all worked out beautifully for this defense. So I think this defense is in a good situation. It's a defense that it allows the offense to play a certain way. Other than us thinking that they got to air it out. Especially if you look at the remaining schedule, it's not like they're playing high octane offenses in this last stretch. So they can arguably play this style of football if they want to for a while.
I mean, Atlanta's off. I mean, granted,
they're running. They're more of a running offense, which
they
again,
are.
Which plays more. Ray going to probably think on whatever being a homer, but it plays more to what Washington is. You know what I mean? Like if you're telling me that this offense is going to be more of the offense that Atlanta's offense is going to be airing it out. If it's an airing it out offense, then we would have something to worry about. I mean, not it's something to worry about. So this team is not. I'll say this: Washington can never feel like it can be anybody. I've always stated that, whatever. But in terms of matchups, when we talk about what are matchups that are good for you, ideally this matchup is better suited than say playing some of the teams that we've seen earlier who can air it out, like
playing Detroit.
Like Detroit, or even we'll just go. Let's go. You mentioned Kansas City, like a Pat Mahomes, or even even the Chargers, like a Justin Herbert, or Buffalo,
with Josh,
healthy Josh Allen, Allen. I don't know what this Josh Allen is, but a healthy Josh Allen. You know what I mean? So I just feel like this defense right now it matches up better against Atlanta than some other teams. Then they would play against other offense. That's all. It's not a slide on Atlanta. Atlanta will be in the game because Washington's offense doesn't do that much of anything to scare you. You know what I'm saying? So they'll be in the game. Atlanta has good young cornerbacks too. Terrell is a young, talented cornerback. They got obviously Kyle Pitts is one of my favorite tight ends. Period. I think he's super talented. I think he's one of the more and London. London.
Who got a
Drake
touchdown today?
London.
I think Drake
Yeah.
London.
Drake London is a really good wide receiver, like out of USC. So they got talent. That's not the issue at all. The issue is they're gonna have to try to. It's always about biting. It's always about cutting off the head of the snake. And to me, the head of the snake for this team, for that team, is Cordell Patterson. So they're gonna have to, like, if they can contain Cordell Patterson, then I feel like Washington has a good chance to, win a game at home. But it's gonna be
Cordell
tough.
Patterson, by the way, record-setting kick return touchdown today for Atlanta. Ninth, they said ninth kickoff return TD ever, which is the NFL record. So
yeah, he always does it every year.
Hey, put Antonio Gibson back there. Let's keep Antonio Gibson back there in kick returns, because if Atlanta can do that with Cordell flipping Patterson, Washington can do it with Antonio Gibson.
I agree. The race that they need to be worried. Washington need to be worried about Kyle Pitts for real. Yeah, I mean, you need to be worried about Kyle Pitts, but then we'll see. I love Kyle Pitts. This is what we all had in mind regarding the defense. The future is bright. Forrest, Curl, St. Jude's, Chase. Well, I think Chase. We'll see. I'm better suited to see Chase next year, because I think you'll get the real Chase next year. But I think you gotta give props to, like, Montez. Montez Sweat had 2 sacks out the end. I mean, I feel like he had that Ryan Kerrigan kind of game, right? To stock up on some sacks before the season ends, so he can get the double figure sack total. But yeah, defense. This is what, like I said earlier, this is definitely what a lot of us envisioned when we saw this defense. But yeah, like George, in terms of coaching, were you happy with the coaching? You thought that?
I mean, we already kind of went over the issues we had with Scott Turner, and the one issue we had with Jack Del Rio putting Bostic in a bad situation. But other than that, I was very pleased. I mean, they went for it. I like them going on 4th and 1 at the end of the game, just to get the damn game over, get the first down. I was a little annoyed they got that there was a couple penalties there that weren't great penalties by Washington, but in general, I mean, I want to give the whole staff the credit here. It's like, okay, when they got that pick 6, they played down. They essentially had the team play downhill, and it's like, okay, we're up against an offense. Our defensive line is dominating. We don't have to do anything fancy. We don't have to do anything really special. You maybe you look at the Samuel runs as kind of special plays. I don't, because I think they're starting to become a staple. But I think they mostly did a really good job today, the coaching staff, and they didn't put themselves in any situation where they could give Houston a chance.
I like that. I think so. I think they frustrated the young quarterback Mills, and also in terms of, like, like I mentioned earlier, they cut the head of the snake in terms of Pierce. You had to stop Pierce, and they did. Like, he had nowhere to go, and them dudes they hungry, and like I mentioned, they on one. And they angry, and they playing with aggression. They got them. All of them got the dog. All of them got that dog. All of them. So I think this is something cool. And it's not the stars, right? It's not just the stars on that defensive unit. You got Casey Toohill, James Smith Williams. All of these dudes are Obata. All of these dudes are putting in work. So I just think that, big ups to Jack Del Rio. If I had to give an MVP of all the coaches so far, he would get the MVP of coaches for Washington, because he's definitely turned this unit around. But this has been a dope show. It's been great talking to my man George. Hey man, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, or Google Podcasts. Just search All Burgundy and Go Errrything. Also tweet us at ABG_Errrything, and hit us up on IG at ABG_Errrything, and like our All Burgundy and Go Errrything Facebook page. Do not forget to subscribe to our All Burgundy and Go Errrything YouTube channel. If you're watching this show on YouTube, just hit that little red button right now and subscribe. Don't waste any time. Just hit the subscribe button, and we're there. You know what I mean? We just appreciate the love. And then, all the likes too. Like it. Thumbs up. You know what I mean? Just dropped my phone. But like it. I hope my phone didn't break. But anyway, man, this has been a dope show. Appreciate George for jumping on this show with us, man. This is exciting times. Washington's playing some actual real football, like some proud football that fans can be happy about. So this is good. Anyway, you've been listening to All Burgundy and Go Errrything, powered by the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia, for ages. You dig? Deuces. All right. Y'all take it easy.